Next, we have Erica Lehman, who is that inspirational metadata associate.
No pressure, right? Hi, I'm Erica Lehman. I'm the metadata associate at the MIT Press. My journey hasn't actually been that long to get into this role. I was an English major, like probably 80% of the people in this room. And I decided at the end of that I wanted to be a librarian. So I went to library school, which is how I moved to Boston. And during library school, as I was taking the required classes, it became really clear that I thought metadata was super fun, and no one else thought that. So I decided to really focus on metadata, and I wanted to be a cataloger when I graduated. But that obviously didn't happen. I worked other jobs for about 10 months, and then this job got posted at the MIT Press, and I had, I think, 3 different friends that texted and emailed me this job posting, or like, Erica, this sounds exactly right for you. And it did, and so I applied and I got it because my boss agreed that I sounded like a good fit, mainly because I think metadata is really fun. It's not common, I guess. But when I started, the metadata associate position was a brand new role at the press. I had no predecessor there. It was originally in the technology department, but now I'm in a newly formed department called data services. Basically, my job is to work on metadata standards and workflows at the press. I help develop, implement, and maintain those. And I also sometimes get to do research on products and services that could impact our internal metadata landscape. Outside the press, I participate in various metadata-related committees and working groups, which helps me keep up with and also play a part in the larger world of publishing metadata. My day-to-day work tends to vary quite a bit because a lot of it is project-based, but some of my recurring tasks are assigning ISBNs, generating our Onyx feed, looking into data inconsistencies across various platforms, including retail sites like Amazon, the bane of my existence. And I also manage our relationships with 2 vendors, and I field a lot of questions about metadata from various departments at the press and also sometimes from outside the press. So I think metadata is fun, like I said, and the most fun part of my job for me is solving what I call metadata mysteries. I think it's really great and also very rewarding whenever someone hands me a problem that to them is just like a big knot that doesn't have any end and it doesn't make any sense to them, and then I'm able to unravel that and hand it back to them with an explanation and a solution, and sometimes that's just telling them I don't know, but I know exactly who you should ask about this. Also, a thing I enjoy is organizing information. Probably not as fun for other people as it is for me, but I get a lot of enjoyment out of exporting giant data sets from our title management database, dropping those into Excel, and just diving right in and having a great time. Usually I have a goal. I might be trying to solve a problem or build an argument, but sometimes I'm really just trying to see what the data has to say and see what I can learn from it, and I really enjoy having that opportunity and having that flexibility that I'm allowed to do that basically whenever I want. One of the challenging aspects of my job is that sometimes I have to answer the same questions over and over again. Something that's really simple and easy for me doesn't make as much sense to someone who doesn't work with metadata all the time, every day. And sometimes it's different people that all come and ask me the same question, and sometimes it's one person who just repeats a mistake again and again until they get it, and both of those situations can be frustrating. Another challenge is creating new workflows and altering existing ones. This is part of my job, but people don't really like to change, I've gathered over time. I guess I get it. But whenever you have a new workflow, you're basically just telling somebody to do their job differently or to do more work when they're already super busy. So that is met with some very understandable resistance at times. And then you add to that the required learning curve for a new workflow, and that always ends up generating more questions and more problems for me to field. I also struggle with getting people to own their own metadata. It's not my job to enter all of the metadata myself, and it's not my job to micromanage what everyone else is putting into the system, but sometimes people struggle to accept that ownership. We in the data services department really try to make people aware of all the data that is available to them and of how they can use it without us having to act as a gatekeeper there. We do sometimes get requests from people asking about whether we have a certain data element or where a piece of information lives or how to export from the database. And we don't serve this information up for them, but we do show them how to do it themselves, and we try to empower them and make them aware of all the things that they can do on their own. On a similar note, I'd say that my main challenge in the big picture view of my job is just getting people to care about metadata. Education is a huge part of my role, and it's a lot more than just showing people where things are in the database. I have to work really hard at it, but I have to try to get people to understand that metadata is important and that they should care about it, that it really matters for their job individually and that it matters for the press as a whole. Over the past 2 years, my boss and I have worked very hard together to try to create a culture of metadata at the MIT Press. We hope to get to a point someday where everyone is comfortable with and informed about metadata. So we're trying to raise awareness of how pervasive metadata is and also how accessible and not scary it is. We definitely still have a long way to go with this, but I think we've already made a lot of progress. Thank you.